Here are the practice problems for the section on fractions. Try to do these by yourself first, and then watch as we go over them together. The first one, we're asked to simplify this fraction 4 over 12, 4/12. And simplify means that we need to eliminate all the common factors in the top and the bottom together. And these have a common factor of 2, but the bigger factor they also have is 4. So we can solve this a couple of different ways. First, we can say that this is 4 divided by 4 and 12 divided by 4. As long as we do the same thing to the top and the bottom, we don't change the value, we just change its format. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. The other way to do this is to factor it. So we could say that 4 is 4 times 1, and 12 is 4 times 3. Remove the common factors from the top and the bottom, that's the 4 and the 4, and we're left with 1/3. Practice problem 2 asks us to simplify the fraction 5 over 1. And that just wants you to realize that anything over 1 is itself, because 5 divided by 1 is 5. Practice problem 3 wants us to simplify the fraction 10/15. 10 divided by 15. Again, there's two ways to do that. First, we can realize that, of course, 5 is the common factor. We can divide both the top and the bottom by 5. As long as you do the same thing to the top and the bottom, you're good. Oops, that's a 15. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Or we can factor. The common factor is 5. 10 is 5 times 2. 15 is 5 times 3. Eliminate the common factor in the top and the bottom. Same answer, 2/3. Problem 4 asks us to simplify 20/4. Well, the top is bigger than the bottom here. The numerator is greater than the denominator, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. In this case, it goes in evenly. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Practice problem 5 asks us to simplify 17/3. 17 divided by 3. 3 goes into 17 5 times, because 3 times 5 is 15, and the remainder, 17 minus 15, is 2. 5 and 2/3. Problem 6 asks us to multiply and simplify if possible. Multiplying fractions is simple. You go right straight across. Numerator times the numerator. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 5 is 10. 3/10. There are no common factors in the top and the bottom, so that is simplified. 3/10. Problem 7 asks us again to multiply and simplify. And let's just multiply this first. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 12 is 48. But there are some common factors here. In fact, let's see, 15 is divisible by 3. That's 3 times 5. And 48 is 3 times 16. So eliminating the top and the bottom, it's 5/16. We could have realized that first. I'll rewrite this for a second. If we look at the top and the bottom of this, we could have said, oh, wait a minute. 12 has a factor of 3. 12 is really 3 times 4. And then we would have, I'm substituting 3 times 4 for this 12. We've got a 3 up here and a 3 down here. That leaves us with, this is really 1. 1 times 5 is 5. 4 times 4, 16. Problem 8 is another multiplication problem, and this time we've got a mixed fraction. And it'll be easier to start by converting this to an improper fraction. We do that, remember, by multiplying the whole number by the denominator. 1 times 2 is 2, and add that to 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. So that converts to 3/2. And of course the 2 written as a fraction is 2 over 1. Now we can multiply straight across 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. And of course, 6 divided by 2 is an even number. That's 3. And the next problem is multiplying 3 1/8 times 4 2/5, two mixed numbers. So let's start by converting these into improper fractions. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1, that's 25/8. Remember, we multiply the whole number by the denominator and add the numerator. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22/5. Now before we do the multiplication, let's eliminate some of these common factors. 25 is 5 times 5. So let's factor out this. Change this to 5 times 5. And now we can eliminate a 5 up here and a 5 down there. And we can eliminate some 2's. 22 is 2 times 11. 8 is 2 times 4. So we're going to get rid of the 2 and the 2. So up here we're left with 5 times 11. That's 55. We're left down here with 4 times, there's just a 1 left, 4. 55/4 is improper, so we're going to divide 55 divided by 4. Well, 4 goes into there 13 times with a remainder of 3. 3/4. Problem 10 is dividing fractions. So remember, to divide fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. You start with just copying down the first number first, change the division to multiplication, and the reciprocal is turning this one over on its head, flipping it over. Now we multiply straight across. 2 times 2 equals 4. 3 times 1 is 3. That's not simplified yet because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. 3 goes into 4 one time. There's one remainder, and that remainder is a third. Problem 11 is also division. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Start by writing this as a fraction. 5 is 5 over 1. Change the division to multiplication. Flip that second number over. Now we multiply straight across. 5 times 4 is 20. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 goes into 26 times with a remainder of 2. And those are 2/3. Problem 12 is another division problem. And we've got a mixed fraction, so we need to convert that to a improper fraction first. Multiply the numerator by the denominator, the whole number by the denominator. 2 times 3 is 6. Add the numerator, that's 7. 7 what? 7/3. Change the division to multiplication and flip the reciprocal. Well, what am I really flipping? That's really 3 over 1, right? So when we flip it, we're getting 1/3. Now we multiply straight across. 7 times 1 is 7. 3 times 3 is 9. No common factors there. 7/9. Problem 13 is another division problem. We're going to change this to multiplication of the reciprocal. So 5/12. Change the division to multiplication, flipping that over. Now I see some common factors that I would like to cancel out first. 3 is common in 12, right? So 12 is 3 times 4. So down here I see that I can get rid of this 3 and that 3. I'm left with 4 down here. So, and I'm left with 1 up there. 5 times 1 equals 5. This is now 4 times 1 equals 4. Numerator is bigger than the denominator, so we need to change that to a mixed fraction. 4, of course, would go into 5 one time. 5 minus 4 leaves us with a remainder of 1. And 1 what? 1/4. Problem 14 asks us which is bigger, 2/3 or 3/4. Well, let's put them into a common denominator situation so that we can make a fair comparison. And 3 times 4 is 12. I think that's going to be the best denominator that we can choose. So we're going to change 2/3 into 12ths. And in order to do that, we need to multiply by 4 over 4. 4 because that's what's going to get 12ths on the bottom. It's really the denominator of the other number. So 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. So 2/3 is the same as 8/12. Let's do the same kind of thing with 3/4. Now we're going to multiply that by 3 over 3. Remember, 3 over 3 is 1. Multiplying something by 1 changes its format, not its value. 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 3 is 12. Now, which is bigger, 8 somethings or 9 somethings? It's always bigger to have 9 somethings than 12. Than 8. Problem 15 is another one asking us which is bigger, 3/7 or 4/9. Let's go again for those common denominators. And 7 times 9 is 63, so we're going to go to 60/3. We're going to multiply that by the other denominator in the form of 1. 3 times 9 is 27. 7 times 9, 63. So our 3/7 is the same as 27/63. All right, 4/9. We're going to multiply by that in the form of 1. In this case, 7 over 7. That's the other denominator. Multiply straight across. 4 times 7 is 28. And of course, 9 times 7 is 63. This isn't a whole lot different, is it? But 27/63 and 28/63, that's just a little bit bigger. So 4/9 is bigger than 3/7. Problem 16 is about addition with simplification if possible. Remember, with addition and subtraction, we need to have the same denominator. Well, this case we already do. We already have 7 as the denominator for both. So we just add the numerators. 1 plus 4 is 5. We keep the denominator 7. Because 1 thing and 4 things is 5 things. Problem 17 is some addition. And we don't have a common denominator, but we're close. We can convert the thirds to 6, which means we can leave the 1/6 alone. And we'll just make some changes to 2/3. We're going to multiply this by 2 over 2. 2 over 2 is, the value is 1, so we're changing the format, not the value. And we're doing a 2 because we want to get a 6 in the denominator. And 3 times 2 is 6. That's the denominator. The numerator, 2 times 2 is 4. And now we can do our addition. 1 plus 4 is 5. And they are 6. 1 thing plus 4 things is 5 things. Problem 18 is another addition problem. This one we've got very different denominators, 5 and 7. And I believe the best common denominator we can find is to multiply the two of them together. 5 times 7. We're going to work in 35ths. So let's start by converting 4/5 into 35ths. Well, we have to multiply by 1. In this case, it's going to be in the form of 7 over 7 because that's what we need to get 35ths. 4 times 7, 28. 5 times 7, 35. And we're going to convert the 7ths to 35ths. So now we're going to multiply by 1 in the form of 5 over 5 because that's what we need to get our denominator into 35ths. 5 times 5 is 25. 7 times 5 is 35ths. All right, now we can add 28 plus 25 equals 53. And what are they? They're 35ths. That's improper because 53 is bigger than 35. So it goes in once. And what is the remainder? The remainder of 18. 18 what? 35ths. Problem 19 is another addition problem with some mixed numbers. Let's start first by converting the mixed numbers to improper fractions. 3 1/3 is 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1, that's 10/3, plus 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 what? Halves. They don't have a common denominator, so we're going to need to convert this to sixths. 10 over 3 times 2 over 2 is going to give me 20 over 6 plus the 5 over 2, I'm going to do it up here, times 3 over 3, that's 15 sixths, multiplying straight across. All right, 20 plus 15, that's going to be 35 sixths. Well, now we need to simplify because 35 is bigger than that 6. So 6 goes into 35 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. The remainder, the difference between those two, is 5. 5 what? 5 sixths. Problem 20 is subtraction, which is really working the same as addition and subtraction. You have to have a common denominator, and we already do in this case, fourths. So we're just going to subtract the numerators. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 what's? They're fourths. We keep the denominator the same. We recognize that 2 and 4 have a common factor of 2. In fact, 2 is 2 times 1. 4 is 2 times 2. We can cancel out, eliminate those common factors, and we're left with 1/2. Problem 21 is another subtraction problem. We've got 5/12 minus 1/3. They don't have a common denominator, not yet, but we could convert the thirds into twelfths, so we don't have to change 5/12. Let's leave that alone. We'll convert the 1/3 to twelfths, and I'm saying that that is going to be 4 over 4. Why 4 over 4? Because 3 times 4 is 12. That's the number we need to multiply the denominator by to get our common denominator. And we're going to use 4 over 4 because that's 1. We're multiplying by 1. We're changing the format, not the value. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Now we just do our subtraction. 5 minus 4 is 1. We keep the denominators, twelfths. Problem 22 is another subtraction problem, and now we've got the whole number 2 minus 5 sevenths. So we need to convert that to a fraction. That's easy, but now we need to have a common denominator. Let's go for sevenths. So start with this, 2 over 1 times 7 over 7 minus 5 sevenths. I'm just bringing that down. 2 times 7 is 14 sevenths, so 2 is the same as 14 sevenths, minus 5 sevenths. Well, 14 minus 5 is 9 sevenths. That's improper because the 9 is bigger than 7, so 7 goes into 9 one time, and there's a remainder, 9 minus 7, of 2. 2 what's? 2 sevenths. Problem 23 is another subtraction problem, and this time we have mixed numbers, different denominators. Let's see if we can get away with keeping our whole numbers the same and just converting our denominators. The common denominator between 8 and 3 is going to be 24, so we'll keep the denominator and convert the fraction part 2 and 15 24ths minus, keeping this the same, 2/3 times, this time 8 over 8, that's 1 over 16 24ths. Well, that didn't work because 15 minus 16, we can't do that. So let's convert one of these kind of like borrowing. 15 plus 24 okay, 1 minus 1 is 0, so we're just going to have a fraction left. 16 or 39 minus 16 is 23 24ths. Our final practice problem 24 is another subtraction problem. We have different denominators, so we need to get a common denominator. And we'll use 21, which is 7 times 3. So we're going to start with 6 sevenths, multiply 1 in the form of 3 over 3, because that's the denominator, and that's what's going to get us to a common denominator. So 6 times 3 is 18, 7 times 3 is 21. 1/3 times 7 over 7. That's the other denominator, and 7 over 7 is 1. We're changing the format, not the value. 7 times 1 is 7. 3 times 7, 21. So 18 minus 7 equals 11. Keep the denominator, 11/21.